Hello, so today we are going to solve quadratic equations by factoring. And so there's going to be a handful of ways that we will be able to solve quadratic equations, but today we're going to go over how to do it by factoring. So we just finished factoring, so all we're doing is kind of taking one more step after the fact. Alright, so first we're going to talk about the zero product property, and if an equation is equal to 0, then 1 or both of the factors must, this should say must, sorry, be 0. And so when we're talking about zero product property, that means like if we took 5 times 0, that's going to be 0. Same as 0 times 5 is 0. And once again, 0 times 0 is 0. So if you look down below, this looks like a problem that you had just factored. Well, now it's set equal to 0. So that means either one of these factors is equal to 0 or both. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to set them both equal to 0. So we're going to have x minus 3 equals 0. And now we're going to solve for x. So if we want x by itself, we need to add 3. So x equals 3. Okay, now same for the next one. 2x plus 7 equals 0. Well, solve for x. First undo that addition. So now we have 2x equals negative 7. And then lastly, we will divide both sides by 2. And x equals negative 7 over 2. And then we're done. I am okay with your answer being like this. On your homework keys, maybe it will look something like this where it's set in interval notation or set notation. I'm okay with it just being set equal to x, but just know that your answer might look like this presented otherwise, okay? It doesn't matter the order as long as you have both those numbers. Okay, well, sometimes it's not just going to be that easy, so we're just going to go over a handful of different options. So it says make sure that the equation is set equal to 0 first. So see how this was set equal to 0? That's what that means. Then we are going to factor completely. Sweet. So then we will set each factor. So that would be like what each of these, the stuff in the parentheses, I guess is what you could say it. We're going to set each factor stuff in parentheses equal to 0. So exactly what we did up above. Then we'll solve the equation. Alright, so now we're just going to go over a handful of different examples. Alright, so here it's already set, it's already been factored, and so now we are just going to set each of those equal to 0. So 5x plus 2 equals 0. I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. Now we have 5x equals negative 2. Then divide by 5, and x equals negative 2 over 5. There's one. Now let's do the next. X minus 9 equals 0. Well, just add 9 to both sides, and x equals 9. So those are our two answers. Not too bad. Alright, and once again, if you need to just pause and rewind, feel free to do so. And oh no, we have to factor. So guess what? We're going to do the x method or the AC method, whatever you prefer to call it. So I'm going to draw my x, and I'm going to multiply 6 times negative 35, and we end up with negative 210, and then at the bottom we're going to have 1. Alright, so now we need to list our factors. So since we are working with a negative 210, that means one of our values is going to be negative when it comes to our pairs. Well, since our b value is positive, that means our bigger value will be positive. So now let's figure out what number is going to work. And this is just my thought process, since whenever we combine our factors together, they need to add up to be 1. I know my numbers should be pretty close together. So I'm just going to start with taking 210 and dividing by 10. So we would have negative 10 and 21. All right, well, let's try like 14, I guess, or 12, I don't know. Okay, well, that doesn't work nicely. Let's try 13. Even worse. Okay. Oh my gosh, 14. So negative 14 and 15. Oh my goodness. If I add those together, guess what I get? 1. So that would be my pair of values that I will use. Now we just factor. So now I'm going to have 6x squared minus 14x plus 15x minus 35. And I want you to go ahead and just pause and factor this on your own. And now I'm going to do it. Okay. So my greatest common factor here, I have an x in both of those, so I'm going to have to make sure to take out an x and a 2. So I'm going to take out a 2x from both of these terms. So I end up with 3x minus 7. Now over here, I'm going to take out a 5. Greatest common factor is a 5. So then I end up with 3x minus 7. They match. Good. I did amazing. So 2x plus 5, and then 3x minus 7. All right, now we just need to add our last step. We just set both of those factors equal to 0 to find our two answers. So 2x plus 5 equals 0. And we're done with that one. So x equals negative 5 over 2. And then now for our next, 3x minus 7 equals 0. 3x equals 7. Divide both sides by 3, and x equals 7 over 3. And those are our two answers. Not too bad. All right, now on to this next one. Okay, well, is this set equal to 0? No, it's set equal to 48. So we need to fix that by subtracting 48 from both sides. So then we would end up with x squared minus 8x minus 48 equals 0. And now we're just going to factor. I want you to go ahead and pause this and try and do this on your own. And then when you're done, you can listen to me or just skip to see what we got. Okay, so I'm going to draw my x. 1 times negative 48 is negative 48. Negative 8 down below. Now I'm going to list my factors. They had to be opposite signs because my AC's product is negative. And then since my B value is negative, my bigger value is negative. So let's figure out what these values are. Alright, so I'm going to take 48 and I'm going to divide by 4 first. Just because that was the first number to come to my head. So then I would end up with 4 comma negative 12, and that actually happens to be the pair that worked. So I lucked out and found my pair right away. So now we will just factor completely. I'm going to put the negative 12x first, so then I don't have a negative third term. My greatest common factor in this first pair is x. And then over here, my greatest common factor is 4. And they match, so I'm good. And then we're left with x plus 4, and then x minus 12. Now we just set both of those factors equal to 0. And we get negative 4 for our first one, and then and x equals positive 12 for our next one. So there's that. Check Schoology to see what I assigned for homework, but there is that for today. If you have any kind of questions at all, please do not hesitate to ask.